Good day, everyone. Richard Cobberthwaite for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to St. Albans Mayor Tim Smith for joining us. Morning, Mr. Mayor.
Hello, Richard. How are
Should
you?
know we're taping him good in most respects. Taping this show on Wednesday, March 23rd. Easy to think a month from today I will be right in the middle of the Vermont Maple Festival. Nice that the Maple Fest is making a return. I guess with most of the activities, some, I guess, pandemic-related changes, but it sounds like we'll see a pretty good hunk of the Maple Festival.
Yes, that's what it sounds like. The schedule seems to be pretty much, I'd probably say maybe about 80%, 85.
Yeah.
They've cut back on a few of the inside activities. I think
And I guess BFA, I guess nothing at BFA?
and I think that was one of the reasons why they had to cut back. So,
Yeah.
but it's great to get it back and get people downtown.
Yeah,
So,
boy, talking about people downtown, I mentioned off air, I guess I had forgotten how popular St. Patrick's Day was in St. Albans. I don't know why I forgot that. I've certainly caught some, but I went down late. I was catching a late March Madness basketball game. I was going to walk downtown and ended up taking my car. Could barely find a parking spot, but wow, what a crowd! And
Yeah,
of course, the weather helped, obviously.
weather was perfect. It's one of those things that if you're 5 minutes late, you're going to miss it.
Really?
But as short as it is, people love it. It's a quick event, and then once people get back to City Hall for music and dance
Yeah.
and food, it proves to be a great event for the community.
Yeah, no, that was very, very impressive. Since we last talked, I guess City Council reorganized. Is Councilor Chad Spooner still City Council President, or?
Chad was elected City Council President again.
Veteran president. He's been president for a long time.
Been president for a long time. Chad does a wonderful job. When I first started, and even today, we joke that he still whispers in my ear during meetings to tell me what I need to do.
Yeah.
So Chad is a great addition, as is Councilman Hawkins got reelected as well, and
Right.
his depth of knowledge.
Yeah.
He's been there 12, 13 years. I'm not really sure, but the depth of knowledge is huge for
Yeah.
when we encounter things that may have happened in the past and how they were handled. And so
Yeah.
both of them are great assets to the council.
And I know you mentioned it on the air on an earlier show, and I've got your mayor's message in front of me, but very nice words for now former Councilor Jim Pelkey. Boy, a lot of years of great public service to the city and the county and his other jobs.
Yes, no doubt. I think, sometimes we forget how much someone gives to the community, and Jim gave 20 plus years. So.
And Newell Decker, the one change on the council, Newell Decker taking over. I hope, I mentioned this to Newell myself, I hope you can get him to give railroad. His railroad knowledge is very impressive, and I've told him Newell will do anything he can to get the Vermonter back to Montreal, so anyway.
Yeah, there's that. I think there's that piece, and then there's the Roundhouse could use some cleaning up down off from Federal Street. It'd be nice to make some headway on that.
So how's the city faring these days? Any huge city news, Tim?
No, actually, I was thinking before I came today, Richard, things are pretty quiet. We're coming out of the winter. I think we stayed within the winter budget. So there's nothing. Public Works is working on getting some things cleaned up for the Maple Festival, and I think the big thing is the pool moving forward. I know they've run into a couple hurdles with supply chain type stuff, but I think they can work through that.
How you doing? Boy, inflation, obviously a huge issue. So much for inflation just being a temporary issue, so much for temporary. Is that, again, city budget, you got, another 3 months plus in the fiscal year? Are you faring okay fiscally?
I think we are. I think it's a little, with that said, I think it's a little early to see what the impact has been. Of course, we bought our salt, back, we buy that 6 months in advance. So that's not going to be impacted. So I think it's too early to see where the impacts are. Power, gas, I think all remain about the same.
Yeah.
I think this time next year will give us a better indication for sure.
Right. Back to the pool, still on schedule for a June opening?
Yeah, if we resolve a couple of these
Yeah.
supply chain issues, one has to deal with the electrical service. I have a call today on that to try to see if we can find some of those items that are needed. Maybe not locally, but maybe reach outside the area.
And of
So-
course, it'll be interesting in the fall, the dome or the bubble will be put on, I assume, September or October?
September, yeah, probably early mid-September.
Yeah,
I know that the old pool, the high school used it for gym classes
huh,
for the first 2 weeks of September. And maybe they leave it open during that period and put the dome on after that. So,
interesting.
and it'll be, it has heat capabilities. So when I say heat, I'm not only the dome, but the water itself. So it'll be interesting to see how we utilize the heating system for the pool.
Interesting. Will that be 7 days a week, or is that not clear?
No, I think that's the expectation.
Really, 7 days away?
Yeah.
Boy, I've never been, I was lucky enough to grow up basically on the ocean, salt water, love salt water. Pools have never been my favorite, chlorine and stuff, but given that asset, I'd like to think I will maybe get into pools finally. But sounds like a tremendous potential asset.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great asset for the region.
Yeah.
And I specify region, we have, the town of Georgia approved the
Right.
recreation, allocation from Georgia to be considered
Yeah.
members, or residents, I should say. So I think, that, the demand for St. Albans Rec continues to grow, with Fairfield, St. Albans Town, Georgia, Sheldon, so.
Anyway, so that's like water storage tank, any movement on that, or is that
Yeah,
down the road?
Actually, no, I'm on the Aldous Hill board, so we just finished up the paperwork to grant an easement to the city so that they can do the construction. The request for bids just went out as well, so they
Yeah.
expect something back, but there will be some activity this summer in constructing the new water tank.
Interesting. Fairfax Reservoir, boy, at times, last summer was relatively dry around here. At times that looked really low. I guess I go by there once in a while. That's come back some, water level wise.
No, I think it's come back quite a bit, actually.
Quite a bit.
From the last time I drove past it.
Yeah.
So I think, and it's deceiving because the upper portion,
course, you can't get in.
see it. You
Right.
can't see it unless you go over on whatever the side road is.
Right.
So you can't
Right.
see that, but so it's deceiving when you just look at the lower portion. But it is an indication of the level of water that we're down if it's a dry
Right.
summer, so. But no, and Fairfax proves to be more of a, to cover the redundancy for the system than, the majority of the water is drawn from Maquam Shore.
I was going to ask, I know I've asked you that before. Is that right? Majority comes from
Yeah.
Lake Champlain?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Any Lake Champlain water quality issues? Anything jumping the mind there? I guess the funding for that's a little more solid these days, but
Yeah,
I realize not exactly a particular city issue, I guess, but.
no, but I think that, I know you're always looking for guests, Richard, and Kent,
Yeah.
and Kent Henderson may be a good one to have on as the chair of the
Friends of Northern Lake Champlain. Yeah,
They have a few activities coming up here this spring. I think there's one here in April, and then they do their annual meeting.
Huh.
If it's still if it's still gonna do it at the Tyler Place, but that will be usually, end of May. But Kent is well-versed and, knows all the activities going on
right.
relative to the area and the lake, so.
Yeah, sounds like he'd be a very good guy.
Yeah.
What about the runoff issue getting for communities around the state getting, is that MS4? I got the wrong.
MS4, the city and town have both created a stormwater utility. Fees
Right.
are being charged.
Right.
They're looking to accumulate funds so they can invest in some projects. I know the city has a couple in mind. I think there's one down on Lower Weldon Street. So there's not a big pot of money yet to offset some of those costs, but there will be some money in the near future to do some of those MS4 projects that have been on the task list for a few years now.
Yeah.
So,
And we're talking some serious bucks. We're talking significant bucks for this down the road, seems.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, the town charges
Yeah.
$55 a parcel, I believe.
Huh.
We're at 11. So, I'm not sure how long it takes to tally that, to get to a significant amount of funding, but, at least the process has been started. I think the sort of tough part has been completed in that people have been educated as to what the fee is and what the purpose is. The town handled a number of complaints, and I think they've addressed them and continue to move forward.
Yeah. Legislature passed a halfway point. I think there was a bill, again, the issue of the affiliation fee, which the town, city wastewater issues and a few town residents who, I guess, had to pay the fee that they weren't expecting to pay. But I believe there was even a bill in the legislature dealing with that. Is that
No, you're correct. Just one thing on the affiliation fee.
Yeah.
We did receive complaints. They weren't aware of it.
right?
You know, I pushed back on the developer. The developer came to us
Yeah.
looking for the water and sewer
Yeah,
with the agreement that there was an affiliation fee. I think the developer or developers, whoever are included in those people who were complaining,
right.
failed to notify or the lawyer failed to, and we need to do a better job of
Yeah.
putting it in the deeds.
Yeah,
So I think part of the blame should be on the developer for not conveying what
Yeah.
the issue with the affiliation fee is. But going back, yes, so there was a bill that was presented, I forget what committee it was, but it was presented by Representative Dickinson, who represents the town, and Senator Corey Parent. So, it didn't get too far. It's still on the wall. It won't be addressed this year.
Right.
I'm guessing the town will bring it up, or the town's reps will bring it up. We as a community are a little disappointed in Senator Corey Parent.
yeah. Who, of course, is a key position for St. Albans
Right, I
Town.
mean, there's some gray area there as to where's our representation on this. He chose to represent the town in this matter.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a conflict of interest in the opinion of the city.
Huh.
And we were disappointed that he chose to go down that road.
Did he respond? I'm sure, obviously, you mentioned that to him. Did he respond to you folks thinking he had a
No,
conflict of interest?
we're still having I think we will be inviting him to a council meeting
Yeah,
to state what his thinking is on that, but it's
Interesting.
disappointing I mean, it's like we're losing one of our representatives from a Senate perspective
right.
if he's gonna side with on the town on these matters.
Yeah, I understand your concern. I bumped into him the other day downtown. We just talked reapportionment a little bit, but I guess some changes. I guess St. Albans City and Town will hold on to 3 House. We'll go
Right.
from the 2-member district covering the city and a bit of the town, plus Lynn Dickinson's single member in the town.
Right.
So I guess we're going to 3 single members. What, wards 1 through 4 in the city apparently?
1
and-
through 4, and then 5, 6 will
And part of
break
the
off,
town.
go to the town.
And then the other single member. Are you happy with that? Does that sound like?
Yeah, I don't know that there's any good way to do it
Yeah.
when it comes to reapportionment for the city.
Yeah,
Councilman Mike McCarthy and representative from the city worked hard on it, not only on this, but the ward division, because our ward populations had been skewed significantly. We hadn't
Right.
looked at that for decades. Mike put a lot of time and effort into that, and we as a council approved it at the last meeting. So I think it's, I don't know that there's a ideal solution to it, but I think, what was presented has been well received, and that's what we chose to go with.
right. I guess the Franklin Senate District, continuing with the 2-member district with some changes. Again, I talked to Senator Parent briefly. I think he said Richford's coming back into and losing maybe, I forget, Fairfax?
Fairfax, I think Fairfax and
Going in with Milton, maybe?
Milton and Westford. Fairfax, Milton,
Interesting.
Westford. I don't know if Fletcher was in that, I don't think so.
Maybe just Fairfax.
Yeah, yeah, that makes it and I don't know where Alberg ends up. I don't know if,
Yeah, I forget if I asked him about Alberg or
I don't know
not.
if Alberg stays,
Right.
with Franklin County or it goes back to
Right.
the, Grand Isle Chittenden County, legislature.
I guess the legislature, again, I'm not even sure they've officially dealt with that yet, but I guess there was a 4-3 vote on the apportionment committee to try to go to all single-member, at least single-member House districts, and I guess, I think the legislature was not going to go that far, but I guess a lot more single-member districts, and of course Burlington, the Senate district, insane, the craziest Senate district in the country, the only 6-member district in the country is being cut down to, I don't know if they're gonna do 2 3s or 3 2s or, but
I heard they were going to 7.
going to
Well,
7.
with this Milton one being considered a Chittenden County one.
Okay.
So Milton, Fairfax, and, what was the other one we talked about? No, what-
Where, Westford? maybe?
Westford probably,
Yeah.
yeah. So, because I just heard, it was on 620 the other day, and they were talking about, ideally it needs 6.5, but you can't have 6.5, so they were pushing 7.
Right, but I think they're splitting it up. They're gonna have that, maybe like 7 senators, but it's not gonna be a 6-member district anymore. That's,
Right.
right. I think like City of Burlington would work out just about perfectly for 2 members, but again, I haven't paid that much attention to it. But big issue comes up obviously every 10 years.
Yeah, and I don't, I haven't followed it.
Yeah.
I did, what I did learn was that the Senate handles their own reapportionment, and then the
Oh.
House, they don't cross over and have comments on each other's.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
so then I'm guessing they'll wrap this up before the end of the session.
Yeah, they need to wrap it up fairly, yeah, it seems like they would have to do
Yeah, I
that.
think so.
In an
And-
election year.
I haven't heard much, about, when the session will be over. I
Haven't
haven't heard
either.
any dates yet. Usually it's
Yeah.
at May 10th timeframe,
Right.
but we'll see.
Of
see
course,
what
the
they-
governor gets asked, obviously, once in a while, Governor, are you gonna run again? He just pretty kind of nonchalantly says, yeah, I'll decide.
I
Maybe
heard
when
he
the
was gonna-
legislature,
Yeah, when the legislature was over, he was
Right.
gonna make an announcement.
he'd be surprised if he wasn't running again, I assume, or not necessary. Any feel for that?
I go both ways, actually. You know,
Really?
he's done 8 years, 6 years.
I think 6. I think
6.
coming in, I think that's the end of his third 2-year term
Yeah.
this year. Boy, and
and
talk about working with the pandemic, a lot of, boy, most of the hours of the day probably. a
I
lot
think
of
the
times.
rumors I hear is that he's leaning towards another 2 years.
Yeah,
And I just, my wife and I were talking about it yesterday. If he chooses not to,
yeah.
that makes for an interesting dynamics. I
Well,
mean,
I'm
everyone
telling
has
you,
our,
T.J. Donovan, you're gonna hear T.J.'s announcement in the first second after the governor announces he's
but
not
everyone
running.
else who might have been interested have
Yeah.
already committed to other races.
Right.
You know, Zuckerman,
Right.
Molly Gray, I mean,
Doug Racine was even, he hasn't he was even talking about, it sounded like he was interested in lieutenant governor, but he may well be waiting for Governor Scott, If he
Right.
announced he wasn't running again, I bet Racine might jump in.
I haven't heard anything of Doug Racine and,
I've heard him I heard him on radio, he was on VMT about a month ago.
oh, is that
And
right?
said, yeah, he was seriously considering running for, I think he was talking about lieutenant governor at the time. But I bet he may be waiting to see if Scott
And
runs for reelection.
what is he doing now? I haven't heard anything of.
I
Doug
hadn't, yeah,
Racine.
he had been kind of, hadn't even heard his name for a
No.
few years. I don't know if he's still dealing with his car dealership, don't know. But I did hear an interview with him, and he sounded like he was very interested in maybe trying to get back into politics. Of course, easy to think about his last race when he was a favorite, maybe not a heavy favorite, against Jim Douglas. And Douglas, just a tremendous campaign with his
Yeah.
aides like Neil Lunderville. Had that flip-flop commercial on Racine changing but again, Douglas was the underdog and
Well,
pulled it out.
Douglas presents so much better than Racine.
Yeah.
Racine doesn't,
Yeah,
struggles to carry conversation, in my
Yeah.
opinion. And,
Yeah.
here you've got Jim Douglas, who remembers everyone's name from
Right.
10 years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see where Racine has the name recognition anymore.
Yeah.
The other one that I saw was, Shap
Oh,
Smith.
Shep Smith. Oh, is that right? I haven't heard
He
of.
just took over the lead of his law firm, so I don't know
Okay.
that, I doubt we'll see
Uh,
Shap anytime.
Boy, talk about for a while, I mean, he seemed like a pretty,
Yeah.
I know Mike McCarthy, Rep and Counselor Mike McCarthy and Shep were pretty close. But,
Yeah,
yeah, he seemed like he'd be, but.
I always liked Shap. I thought he
Yeah.
did a great job as speaker,
Yeah.
and then I think he ran for governor.
Boy, I guess got lost in the primary.
Yeah, there's 5 in the primary with
Yeah.
Susan Bartlett and Shap Smith. I think that
Yeah.
was the year,
Yeah.
and Peter Shumlin came out of that one. But-
Interesting. Speaking of the legislature, of course, city voters at the March annual city meeting made the key positive vote for you, for the city on the city clerk issue, which needs legislative approval. Has that happened, or that's?
Yeah, once again, it's nice having
About.
Counselor Mike McCarthy down there
Right.
to push these things through. So
There
he's
should be
had,
no suspense about that.
no, I
would-
don't think so. I
Yeah.
think Mike's had multiple conversations, and they've
Yeah.
assured him that they'll be addressed before they adjourn.
And again, July 1st, so hopefully that'll go through, and July 1st, city council will be in position to name a city clerk and treasurer.
Exactly, yeah. So we have, we've appointed an interim clerk, Arlie, so we'll advertise and see what we come up with,
So you'll advertise and see who's interested in
Right.
that,
and hopefully be ready to appoint someone that July 1 date.
right? Again, got your, as I said, your mayor's message noting the number of people have asked about just the health of downtown and concern about empty storefronts, and you note some new businesses coming in. Any recent news on that front?
Yeah, there's a few different ones that the council's been talking about. So in that letter, I mentioned 3, the Hangry Donut, Nourish moving up to Main Street. There's been
And Bootleggers Bikes.
Bootleggers Bikes.
That's like a great addition.
Yeah, so there's those, and then there's discussions of, we've had at least 2 or 3 other interested parties that, it's very preliminary, but we'll
Yeah.
continue to have those discussions and see how we might be able to assist to bring them to the downtown area.
Again, you're always going to get, I guess, a few empty storefronts and changes, but health of downtown, you're not feeling it's in too terrible shape, I trust?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was, this past weekend, drove over through, the kids had hockey over in Messina.
Oh, really? Wow.
So we were in Potsdam, Messina,
Hmm.
Canton, and driving through some of those communities.
Yeah.
We're sitting well compared
Yeah.
to many northern New York communities.
Yeah, it sounds like some pretty tough times for
Yeah,
some of those
no
places.
doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
So downtown, we do have vacancies, but compared to many other communities, we're sitting very well, and
Yeah.
I think we'll make some good strides this summer as well, and we'll be in good shape by the time the summer comes.
Speaking of northern New York, Plattsburgh in particular, I happened to see, I guess, a TV story recently on Beta Technologies and with the Franklin County Industrial Development Corp. hat. We talked, I think, last show about Beta Technologies looking seriously at the Energizer plant. It looks like they just grabbed a bunch of space by the Plattsburgh Airport. Is Energizer still in the running, or
As far as we know,
as far as you know? And that's
they
different. That's obviously bad for batteries.
focus on their battery maintenance and
Right.
upkeep. So they, I think it was a week ago Monday, they were going through the building with engineers, looking at where
Yeah.
what the needs were in terms of upgrading the building to their use. And I haven't heard back as to what the outcome of that visit has been. Actually, there were multiple visits.
Huh.
So that was on my list to shoot off an email and try to track that down.
You're still hopeful about that, or?
Yeah, we're very optimistic.
Yeah. Boy, it sounds like, what do I know? It sounds like a great fit from what little I know about it.
No, it is. I mean, for the needs that they have relative to their battery process, Energizer checks all the boxes for the most part.
Yeah.
Some things need to be upgraded, like the HVAC system, but I think for the
Yeah.
most part, the building itself fits their needs quite well.
Again, with your FCIDC hat, Tim, labor shortage, is that issue just as tough as ever, doesn't change too much?
Doesn't change. I think people are, businesses are getting very creative. You know, I chuckle a little bit every time I hear a mandate on minimum wage.
In fact, I won't mention the company, but I happened to notice a help wanted ad, which you see just about for everybody. But I won't mention the local place, but boy, it was $13 an hour. I'm saying, boy, I don't know how many people are going to walk in the door looking for $13 an hour.
You're exactly right. The market is pretty much taking care of it. I mean, you can work $22 an hour at most of the manufacturers in the region.
Yeah.
You know, I've been places where Dunkin' Donuts were paying $16 to $17.
I was going to say, even the fast food seems like
Fast
they're good
food.
15 plus
Right.
pretty much.
So, you know, I think Senator Sanders is still pushing that on a national level, but from a
Oh.
Vermont perspective, well, even
Yeah.
on, I think, a Northeast perspective, but
Yeah.
I think it's wasted energy because
like a
the
non-issue.
market is
Yeah.
taking care of that.
Yeah. Down to about 3 minutes left. Any stuff you want to get into that we haven't touched on?
You know, I think we're looking forward for the summer. The pool's gonna be huge for sure. There's gonna be more trail work done up on Aldous Hill and Hardack.
Right.
It's exciting to see some work being done on the courthouse down on Kingman Street. Jim Cameron has taken that over and is running with that.
So we're talking to mix some apartments upstairs?
Apartments
and-
upstairs, and I'd like to get a restaurant
Yeah.
or some type of retail, you know, probably more food-oriented
Right.
downstairs. So you've got the Kingman Street block party coming up in May.
That sounds great. That sounds cool.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be a good draw downtown. I spoke to Kathy Manhan about the car show coming, and she's looking to expand that with maybe a big rig piece for kids as well. So moving forward on the activities, you know, those monthly community activities that we've been advocating for years to draw the
Taylor
community.
Park, music on Taylor Park, I trust.
Music is, we expect to do that as well. I haven't seen the schedule yet. Farmers market.
Yeah,
So we're not too far from things starting to pop on the downtown.
yeah, just down to the last minute. USCIS, U.S. Customs and Immigration Services, just no news.
No news whatsoever. Senators Sanders and Leahy's aren't getting any feedback. You know, I don't think it bodes well for us that they moved the one portion down to Essex out of Price Brook area. You know, there's the announcement that all INS workers can work from home permanently now. So we're not hearing anything. I guess there's a little concern in the air relative to that.
Yeah, anyway. Hey, that's going to do it. Thanks to Mayor Tim Smith.
Thanks, Richard.
Mr. Mayor, good to see you.
Likewise.
Thanks to producer Roger Lindelof. Thanks for watching us here on Northwest Access TV. And again, we'll be back with another show in the not-too-distant future. But again, we appreciate folks watching out there, and springtime is officially here, even though it may not feel like it today. Thanks for watching.